dependent clauses? Are there compound complex sentences? Where are we in this sea of nonsense? You have to be able to build a place where you have smart, talented people who represent a diverse group of correct opinions. You need to get rid of almost all of the people who have opinions that are antithetical to what we're trying to accomplish. You need to give them insulation, which we're terrified because we don't trust anybody. So everything has to be transparent. If you're going to the bathroom, I want those walls to be plexiglass so I can see what you're doing. It's like, that's too much transparency. We have too much and not enough at the same time. And then, in essence, you need to ensure that people aren't worried about feeding their family every 4 seconds for being real. None of that is happening. And our billionaires are pathetic. What is the point of billionaires if you're not going to do billionaire type cool stuff like saying F you, and I'm going to throw, $3 billion at the project of restoring the national conversation? I don't grasp this. What is the point of creating obscene wealth if we don't have anyone smart enough and caring enough to use it?
So I agree with that last part for sure. Let me slightly push back on the idea that the leaders themselves are broken. I feel like this goes to the Joe Rogan, Joe Biden and Trump having a debate on that program. I feel like Joe Biden has a lot of really interesting ideas that he's almost forgot how to communicate. He's been fake for so long within the system.
Hillary was fake for too long. I'm sure she had real ideas at the beginning that she still was campaigning on decades later.
But if the platforms empowered you to search, to be honest, to be real, to search for those ideas within yourself, like long form conversations do, then even the Donald Trump and Joe Biden leaders we have now would take this country to a better place. That would unite people. So we can keep the current Congress. We just need to create better platforms. This is going to the intuition that there's good in Donald Trump. There is depth and complexity. There is good in intelligence.
There is.
And the same with Joe Biden.
There's good in Joe Biden.
And it's just, we're not incentivizing. There's several things I think are broken. One of them is Twitter. The other is journalism. It's just the platforms of us communicating with each other.
One of the reasons that I try to come up with unifying explanations is that, if you look at the number of wildfires in California, let's say, that we've just seen, if you treat them all as spontaneous, uncorrelated instances, it feels like, oh my God, it's just whack-a-mole. Every time I send a fire truck here, there's a fire over there. So you want to come up with something like a central theory, which is, why do I suddenly have a problem when I hadn't had a problem before? So I look for these unifying explanations. And I found one the other day that really speaks to me. People are very frustrated because they've been trained to think about this incorrectly, in my opinion. But here's the graph that you need to look at. On the x-axis is time by year. And on the y-axis is something like average age of a human. Mm-hmm. The title of the graph is Any Desirable Situation Involving Institutions. So that could be CEO. It could be tenured professor. It could be who's getting grants. It could be the age at which people win Nobel Prizes. University presidents, all these things go up. In other words, for a long period of time, the average age of the person in a desirable situation has been increasing something like 9 months for every 12. Those graphs have to go down at some point. The specter of having 5 people all born in the 1940s as the final entrance in the presidential context, that makes no sense. Think about how bizarre a thing that nobody's even really talking about. The last 5 people were all ancient by presidential standards. Not 1, not 2, but 5. We are talking about a contest between somebody who is the oldest of the baby boomers, the very beginning of the baby boom, summer of 46 birthday, fighting somebody who is in the silent generation. The silent generation guy at a town hall in Florida gets this question from a Gen Z guy saying, what's going on with my future? And Joe Biden has the audacity to say, I'm a transitional president. You guys are the highly educated ones. When has any generation in history needed a transitional 78-year-old person to take office? It's bizarre. It's preposterous. That graph is the graph we can't talk about. That graph is the graph of our destruction. Because it has you can make a one-line argument, which sounds like ageism, which isn't a very good argument.
No.
But what it does is it muddles the conversation. And you always have to ask yourself the question, if this conversation becomes muddled, who wins as a result of the muddling?
Well, it's a battle, but let's just win it. Let's win the battle.
Are you running?
For sure, I'll run. I was born in Russia. You can't run. Russia. So, but we Russians can hack elections, so we'll figure it out. This is me officially announcing my run for president.
I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah.
Lex, what is it that you really want to ask?
I think I want to put some responsibility on the portal. The portal. That the portal gives power to the people in that graph. Like, because you put it quite brilliantly that the people that move the world, their age has been going up. And not move the world, but put in the position where they get the chance to affect the world. These new platforms, I think Twitter falls in them, give power to the younger people. It doesn't have to be about age necessarily, but the younger thinking people. So that's a promising thing. And you are like you're like Gandalf. You get to pick your Frodos or whatever. I'm not very good with the analogy, but the whole point is for you as Gandalf.
I don't know that I make that much sense. Gandalf makes sense. I don't know if people know how to fit me into this ecosystem. I think there's something in my presentation that people find very confusing.
No, figure it out. I disagree with you, but you need to look at the mirror and think like, what is it? Is it maybe you need a mustache? I don't know. But there's something about figuring out how to be a charismatic communicator in this, and that's the responsibility. You said like finishing sentences with the LOL is painful for your soul.
Yeah, that's just how somebody lets me know I don't have to take their opinion seriously.
Yeah, it's still the language, the way that people are communicating, and you're swimming that wave. You have a big platform. I have a growing platform. It feels like this is the place to give power.
I agree. But we're going to get swatted down.
I just don't think so.
You're wrong.
Why are you afraid of the big... Like this?
Because I've studied it. Because I've studied... Let me ask you a question, Lex. I believe that every society is supposed to have a collection of what I call break glass in case of emergency people.
Yeah.
These are people who are universally loved and trusted by your society. For example, David Attenborough, the great British naturalist and presenter, recently came on Instagram. He's worried about the planet. And I said, look, there are very few of these people left. Let's pay attention, find out what he has to say. Maybe he's going to be an ass. Maybe he's going to be an idiot. Maybe he's going to say wrong things. Don't know. Tell me about your top 10 universal American heroes.
This is not a rhetorical question.
No. Give me 5. Everybody looks to that person and says, yep, the best of us.
Not divisive. Well, everybody's an interesting concept. I mean, Elon Musk is very divisive, right? But
I'm talking about overwhelmingly people would follow that person if that person gave a rousing, intelligent speech that said we must act now because we're in dire straits.
I think a lot of people fall in that category. For me, it would be in the tech world, in the engineering world.
No.
Elon
Tell
Musk.
me names.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
The Rock. I'm thinking like, who is the most eloquent actor? So like, you think celebrities? So people with platforms.
I didn't say celebrities. But they have to be well known.
I believe like yeah. So This goes to Joe Rogan.
First two did not really impress me as being what I said, but okay. Elon several years ago would have.
Can you try to?
Joe Rogan has.
Why do they fail? Why is
lots
Elon
of people
failing
treat
this?
Joe Rogan as if he's some sort of right wing racist because they've never watched his program. They don't know who his friends. I don't know.
Oh, but when I thought you said everybody, I thought you meant a large enough people where huge change can happen, not actually literally everybody. Because I
mean people who've pulled off something where everybody's convinced that that person just deeply. I mean, I think I've told you the story before, but the one time I've seen the power of a figure like this, I mean, very few times I've been in a large crowd and I've seen people just moved where they would do almost anything good, bad, and different because they were primed. One was a Rolling Stones concert. The other one was Nelson Mandela coming to Boston. And man, you've never seen anything like this. You check out the photos from the banks of the Charles River when Nelson Mandela came. There are people that you need in your dark hours, and we can't agree on who they are. And as soon as they emerge, we tar them with shit. We get out the shit brush.
Yeah, I just disagree with you. So I think
what do we disagree about here?
Okay. I think it doesn't matter who it is. I think really good speeches are needed. And
Great.
I think a
Who's
lot.
going to give them? I saw Killer Mike try to give a good speech.
Yeah, he did. Well,
in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, he did.
That was something. Very impressed.
Yeah.
Even Killer Mike immediately gets into this sell out. Or like,
yeah, but he didn't take up the responsibility. I would say
he didn't
of going bigger. So he was speaking to the community, and
he was doing what he
on this particular moment. He's exceptional at it, and he was speaking to this particular moment. He didn't take it a step farther, which is like giving the same speech but bigger than race, bigger than this particular moment, but more about the American project.
You know the guy who landed the plane in the Hudson?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. That's a good example. Sully.
That guy, until we screw him up, is the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, Jocko, maybe.
Jocko's pretty good. Jocko is pretty good. Can't really tell. Is he a Democrat? Is he a Republican? I don't know. He's an American, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of folks.
And then, no, I think Jocko, there aren't. That's one of the reasons why Jocko is so important.
Yeah. Your podcast, The Portal, is something in my little universe, is something a lot of people really love. And it moves them. They draw a lot of meaning from it. And also, especially in difficult times.
Mm.
And it gives them a comfort of, through like this kind of, it's not just nuance. There's like, even when you're talking about chaos, there's love underneath all of it. And I think people draw a lot of meaning from it, which is why they are wondering why you haven't been doing that many podcasts, or you haven't done it in maybe a month and a half or 2 months in this most difficult of times. Is there a good reason?
Yeah, there are lots of good reasons. So the first one is kind of weird, which is everybody assumes that everyone wants to be famous. And if you say, I don't want to be famous, it's like, oh, you're just saying that because you want to be everyone to think you're famous. You're not that famous. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't love being as well known as I've become. There's lots of things that are fun about it. It's wonderful that I can go to any city in the world, and there are Portal listeners there. All I need to do is put out a tweet and 20 people show up for a drink.
And they're amazing people.
And they're you can see my live Q&As on my Instagram page. If you go to Eric R. Weinstein, I just pick somebody randomly. And I was really worried about it at first. And, maybe I should be worried about it. But in general, people all over the world are just so positive. And so,
Yeah. and thoughtful and deep, and they have a story that's kind of
because they're self-selected, right?
Yeah.
But I don't like the fame.
The thing we just described comes with the fame. It's a beautiful thing. You don't. You're worried that it's getting.
It's ephemeral. Look, Lex. It'll turn on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It'll turn on you in a heartbeat. And the other problem is I don't like my audience being my audience. I want to get closer to them. I want to talk to them. I want to find out what is this doing in your life. My house fills up with art that people send me.
Yeah.
The latest thing is an effects pedal called something like, I don't know, it's a bow tie overdrive.
Yeah.
From a guy in Mexico. Right?
Yeah. You play electric, by the way, in a tiny little tangent. Did you play electric?
I have a Stratocaster.
Okay.
But it doesn't have a strap, and I don't know what to do with it, and I have a bad amp. So you should hook me up with the.
We'll find it at home, maybe.
Okay.
You're starting to sense that this is too much.
No, I want to be here. I want to do the work. Very simply, I don't have an ability to fully explain myself. I don't want to claim that I don't love the fact that how much love do we get from these programs? Like generically, people are incredibly generous. People have begged me set up a Patreon account, and I haven't been able to do it. I should do it. I've said to everybody, it's a business, it's a business, it's a business.
Yeah.
But like they're so used to being defrauded when somebody starts thinking about monetary incentives. My goal was to say, I'm going to keep talking to you about, you want to know why I started doing ads on my show? Was because I wanted people to think from the get-go, this is a business. This is what I sound like when I'm selling. But like you see, I've lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is due to Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens.
Code.
What's
I don't know what my promo code is for Athletic Greens.
Well,
probably athleticgreens.com/portal, but doesn't matter.
/portal.
But Fitbit, who doesn't advertise, has also been instrumental, as well as a guy named Stephen Cates, who was a fan from the show, found me on the street and just said, "I'm a trainer. I want to help train you." It's got me on a good path. So that's one paid advertiser and two people that I'm calling out just because they're two outfits, Stephen Cates and Fitbit, that have changed my life. I wanted people to say, you don't have to be afraid of advertising. If I do it in this way, this is powering your show. But the whole issue of money is weird because people have these crazy feelings like, oh, wow, I knew he was a shill. He's a grifter, okay. I didn't love that. I didn't love the issues. So I didn't set up a Patreon. The security issues for talking and being me are significant.
Yeah.
And I don't have the kind of money to hire round the clock. I mean, I desperately want to get to a level of wealth where I don't have to think about money. I don't think it's, some people want money because they need it for status. I think I can handle status if I want it doing this. I don't want the status necessarily, and I'd want the status, but I don't want the fame that goes with it. I want the money. I don't want to be seen as this is about money because it's about a substance.
Yeah.
And all of those things. That's part of, I haven't solved these issues. I've been feeling bad because people say, where's the portal? We're desperate. These are difficult times. We have an election coming up. And it's just like, do you think for a moment that I want to explain that I actually got really uncomfortable being as well known as I was? And then what is it that I want? Because I want to be better known and less well known at the same time. There's nothing the audience can do. I don't want the audience to be the audience. That doesn't make sense to people. I want it to be a business, but I don't think people need to fear a business if the business is open about being a business. And then that's all to the side. What you're seeing now in front of the election is an incredibly meta-violent period in our online existence. And I believe that anybody who attempts to say these two parties are completely screwed, at the moment, the leadership of these parties is unsalvageable, unworkable. Everyone hears that from inside the two-party system. Oh, I get it. He's trying to subtract votes off of Biden. Oh, I get it. He's trying to scuttle Trump. Oh, I get it. This is a play for his show because he's trying to plug in to discuss. There's a Bill Hicks routine on marketing. Have you ever seen this?
Mm-mm.
Brilliant. I recommend it to everyone, where he comes out on stage and he says, "Are there any people in marketing and sales in the audience?" Woo, yeah. It's like, okay, great. Can you do us all a favor and die? And like everybody laughs. He's like, "No, I'm not laughing. I'm being serious." So he talks about how marketing is horrible. So you're like, where's this act going? Then he gets to the point of it. It's like, oh, I know how you marketing people think. Bill's going after that resentment dollar. That's good dollar. Let's get that resentment anti-marketing dollar.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I really hate marketers. Oh, that's good. It's the authenticity dollar. You can't escape this kind of negative marketing thought. And I guess that gets to the issue that I don't want to be destroyed in advance of this election. I don't think it's a good use of my relationship to my audience to be broadcasting how completely ridiculous Donald Trump and Joe Biden are as candidates for the president of the United States, full stop. None of this makes any sense. These moderators of these pseudo debates were in the wrong format with the wrong people. No part of this makes a whit of sense.
Can I try to push back? Several claims. One is, I don't believe the systems as they stand now can destroy the Eric Weinstein voice, the voice.
You're a child. I'm sorry to say that.
But, it's also possible.
Let's fight.
It's entirely possible that you're the child. Okay. Because a child would say you would call other people a child.
Yeah, get in the first blow. It's a big reveal. It's a tell.
Because the only power they have is to attack you psychologically.
No.
Well, I believe that the army of people that love you is much more powerful than mainstream media, than people that you might hear it say ridiculous things that you just said, which is try to reduce you, like the marketing thinking. I just believe there's an army, maybe there's a better term, of people that see you for who you are and are hungry. Like,
I'm not disputing those things.
And
that's not what I'm saying.
I would venture to say, as your therapist, that you're actually the battle is all in your mind. That you have found these demons in the system, and they're just a tiny minority, and it's all in your mind. They cannot actually remove. They're not strong enough to remove the voice of Eric Weinstein, to silence the voice.
I love this. Mm-hmm. This is some of the best fiction writing I've ever heard. Let me tell you, I have relatives who've known me my entire life. Where one article in the New York Times, they will believe that over me.
My contention is that that has no power except to affect your psychology. What you have to do is the Rogan thing, which is laugh.
You're not hearing me.
Just laugh.
I am laughing.
I know, but more.
I'm telling you something.
Yes.
Okay. The way this works is through ruin. Ruin can come to anyone. There's no one who cannot be ruined. Every single person is signed up right now to be ruined by the system.
But don't you understand that you have more power than the system? You can ruin the system. Your Twitter account, the podcast. That's what I'm telling you about the army. Right?
I agree that my Twitter account, my podcast, but what we've seen, for example, you saw what happened to Brett's Articles of Unity project?
Yes.
Okay, what happened?
You mean on the Twitter side?
On the Twitter side, what happened? What happened?
Well, actually,
say the words. Say the word.
It was blocked or removed from Twitter.
Suspended. Account suspended.
And
okay, I have a direct line to Jack.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking to the CEO, who I am crazy enough to still believe in.
Good, I do too.
I believe it. Somehow, there's a very strange thing going on with Jack Dorsey. I cannot possibly reconcile the actions with the person that is a next level mind in there. I don't know it well enough to say that it's all next level. I'm not claiming he doesn't have any blind spots. Every smart person I know has blind spots. I don't know what he's up against, blah, blah, blah. There's no way that the Jack Dorsey that I've talked to and the Jack Dorsey that interacted over articles of unity can be the same person. He is constrained by that company in some way that doesn't make sense to me. Either that or he's the most duplicitous person on earth, and I'm not believing it. I just don't buy it. Okay?
Yeah.
Something horrible is happening. My claim is I can remove you functionally from the chessboard in a tiny number of moves. No matter who you are, no matter how virtuous or how much of a bastard you've been your entire life, it doesn't take more than 3 or 4 moves to basically neuter you as a force.
Yeah, and I disagree that if that's possible, that means I'm not very good at chess. Like, Unity 2020 was removed from Twitter because it's not good enough.
Okay?
Not within the system. Like, the army of people that feel the brilliance of the idea was too small. There.
Okay, but fear, uncertainty, and doubt is the name of the game, the coin of the realm.
Psychology, though, it's not real power. It just affects the mind.
Okay, I have a reading assignment for you. Because you're Russian, you'll really enjoy this. As part of the Great American Tobacco Settlement, the Tobacco Institute had to disgorge its archives of all of its strategies, all of its skullduggery, and put it on the web for all time so that we could all understand how the tobacco companies got together and destroyed people, right? You see tobacco destroys people. You can see, Scientology destroys people. There are various vindictive organizations that will not tolerate reality in opposition to them.
Let's take them down.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to tell you is
okay. No.
So why aren't you doing the podcast to return? Because that's one of the weapons of war.
Well, first of all, if you're at war, I don't want to discuss strategy on a podcast, right?
But that's you're misunderstanding.
What did Montgomery say about Rommel? What wasn't his line? I read your book, you beautiful bastard. It's like, why are you using the tactics that you already explained? Okay, so one of the things I'm doing is I'm not having a strategic conversation with you and several 100,000 of our closest friends. I pulled back because this is not the battle that I know what I'm doing. I do not feel passionately enough about defeating Donald Trump to elect Joe Biden, even if that's the way I'm going to ultimately vote, right? I don't believe in the Biden Democratic Party. I don't believe in the Trump Republican Party. So yes, it's an incredibly consequential election, but to me, it's like the Crips and the Bloods and the Latin Kings fighting over the right to extort, a business, and the business trying to figure out who it wants to do the extorting.
But don't you think? Listen, there's very few people that are as good with the English language as you. Don't you think it's possible to draw a line that in between that finds how we find our common humanity, that ensures a better 2021 without having to say like Donald Trump is evil or Joe Biden is incompetent or any of that? Just somehow draw a beautiful line.
Eddie Van Halen. In so much pain. This election is chewing